Hello, everybody. Today we have a special guest, and it's none other than Caleb Jones. So, Caleb, how's it going? How's things going on?
I'm in Armenia. So I'm in
Uh,
Armenia right now. You hear me okay?
yeah, now it's
Okay,
great.
cool. All right,
Armenia,
good. I'll just make sure not to
Armenia.
touch anything. Yeah, I'm in Armenia. I've been here for about 6 days, 7 days, and I'll be here for another 2 weeks. So I'm here about 3 weeks.
All right, let's go first. Why are you in Armenia? Why are you in Armenia? So that people understand, where you come from.
Sure. I follow a system called Five Flags. And so that is where you diversify your life across five or more countries instead of relying your entire life on just one country. So I'm following a system where I live in one country, but I'm not a citizen there. I have citizenships in other countries and residencies in other countries. I have my investments in third set of countries, and I buy my stuff or I operate my businesses out of a fourth set of countries. It's a little complicated. And so as part of that, I have to get residencies in several different countries, both as mechanisms to get citizenship, multiple passports, so I have more freedom of travel, and as backups in case there's ever a problem with any of the places I currently live. I can quickly switch to another country. I don't want to rely on one country or one city or one region to make me happy and to take care of me the rest of my life. That sounds crazy to me, especially in the modern era where most of the Western world is collapsing right before our very eyes. I don't want to rely on any one country, even if I like it, even if I emotionally have an attachment to it. I don't want to rely on it. So Armenia is one of my flags. I'm going to get there's a lot of things I'm doing here. Right now, I'm working on residency. I've been working on a few other things, banking and some land and some other stuff.
First of all, that strategy sounds great to me. I don't know about the viewers, but I've got the same taste of independence when I was in Germany, younger, when I was a child, basically. And I was in Germany for 6 years, and that was the first, my first taste of changing cultures and how different it can be. Because many people, they think that their city, their town, or their country is all there is. So if you're an American,
Right.
you think that America is American freedom and all that is the best and blah, blah, blah. And the same for Greeks. So until I went to Germany, to Munich, I thought of a certain reality. So I had, the Greek streets, which were horrible. No great cars, so the cars were horrible. Most of us were in the line of poverty, so more or less, not exactly, but we didn't have any capacity of doing traveling and stuff. And then I went to Germany. I went to Munich, and it was like a shock, And that's why I think I can relate to your message more. I think that people, if especially you live in another country, I think your mind opens to the possibility of, all right, so that's another country, that's a different civilization, that's different things, how things work here. So, wow, let's go to a third country, to a fourth country, and why not to, do what you do.
I had that experience when I first started traveling 20 years ago or so, and I first started hitting Asia. And so I spent my whole life in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, so like between Portland and Seattle. And I went to Asia, and I was shocked. I said, when I saw their subway systems, they're perfect. They're fast. They're easy. It costs 13 cents to go across town or something like that, American dollars. It's crazy. And you don't have anything like that anywhere in the West. Forget just the United States, anywhere in the Western world. And then I saw their schools and their libraries. And so I'll never forget the first time I was in Hong Kong, first time or second time. I was in a library, and it was it's a big city, so it was a gigantic library. And I went up on like the fourth floor, and I walked out, and I was in this giant room the size of a Walmart, this gigantic, the size of a Costco, this giant room, and it was filled with rows of desks, and in every desk was a teenage Chinese student like this, and there wasn't a sound, and there weren't any teachers making them do the work. This was a library. They were doing this voluntarily because they wanted to do well. And I went, oh my God, we have nothing like this. This isn't anything like the American educational system. So yeah, I found the same. And yes, every new country I visit, usually, I visit a lot of countries now, but usually I find something new that wouldn't it be neat if my culture or where I live implemented that one or two things. Yeah, so you're right.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So before we go into the health stuff, that's because I want to talk with you about health. I know that your regimen is very tight and you do great things with your health. Why Armenia, Caleb?
Why Armenia? A few reasons. One is it's one of the easier places to get residency. And so in the world, it's harder to get residency in most countries. And so the number of countries where it's easier to get residency is small and getting smaller. So Armenia is one of those places where getting residency is easy, comparatively easy. It's never easy. There's always paperwork and attorneys and banks and things like that. That's reason number one. Reason number two is getting citizenship is also easier. It's not easy, but it's easier. Number three, I like Armenia. I think Armenia is headed in the right direction. I think Georgia is headed in the right direction, or at least it was. Georgia's starting to flounder a little bit. There's three countries in the Caucasus. There's Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. Armenia and Georgia are great. Azerbaijan is not. But those two countries are really good. They're also in a decent spot. They're near Europe, but they're not in Europe, which I kind of like. It's really close to where I live in Dubai. I live in Dubai, so it's like a 2.5-hour flight for me, which is really great. That's one of the reasons I chose Dubai as a home base for myself, is I can hit almost the whole world within 8 hours, an 8-hour radius. It's nice. There's a lot of reasons for Armenia. And Armenia's not the only country I'm working on. I'm working on a lot. I'm a maniac with this stuff. And often when I talk about this, people go, oh my God, that sounds complicated. Then just have your main country and have a backup. Have a plan B backup country. Have two. Instead of having 27 countries like I've done, I'm exaggerating. Have two or three. But my point is you shouldn't have one. Too dangerous today, long term.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we should simplify. You know, when I see your videos and people go check Caleb's channel, of course, it's great advice and wealth advice. No, when I see your videos, I'm really, you seem to be too far gone in a good way. So you are a little bit ahead of, not a little bit ahead, you're too ahead of everybody. But I think, like you said, another country. Do the first step, another country. And that's what I'm thinking. Now I'm thinking another country.
A second country.
Yes.
And maybe you go for a third country where you maybe have some money or investments, and that's it. You don't have to be a maniac like me. As long as you don't rely on one. The alpha male 2.0 lifestyle I talk about is based on redundancy. You don't rely on one country, you have several. You don't rely on one business or one income stream, you rely on several. You don't date one woman at a time, you should date several. Several. That way, no matter what happens, you're covered no matter what happens. It's a good life. It takes a little time to set up, but once it's set up, you're set for life.
All right, let's go to the health stuff now. So
okay.
You look like 35, and that's my honest opinion. So when I first saw your channel and saw your face, and I couldn't tell how old are you, because you have a wisdom of an older man, but you have the energy and the looks of a younger man. So I was a little bit perplexed. So what is this guy? So that was interesting to me. And I guess your age is older than 35, right?
I'm about to turn 50.
Yeah.
I turned 50 in a few months.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't guess in any case. So I wouldn't guess that if you were asking me. So let's begin with your sleep, Caleb. What's your sleep regimen? And do you think that sleep plays a role in how youthful you look, or are you blessed genetically?
I am not blessed genetically. I've done a video with my dad, although he's 80. My parents aged normally. My dad aged like a normal guy. When he was my age, he looked old. My mom doesn't eat. She's one of the people that just doesn't eat. So she aged very quickly. She had a lot of wrinkles. She got a facelift later in life, but she aged very quickly. So my genetics are not great for aging, no. So the answer is no. That would have been nice. Would have been easier. And my wife has really good genetics. So some people are blessed, but I don't. So I had to work at it. Your question about sleep. Yes. So my priority is, and has been for at least 20 years, 8 hours of sleep a night. And as I've talked to people about this, the only way that works in the modern era when everyone's busy and everyone wants to stay up late and there's computer screens and things like that is you have to make it a priority. So one of my recurring priorities in life is to get that 8 hours. And what I discovered lately, I started using, I was using a Fitbit for a while, but even before that I was tracking my sleep, when I go to bed, when I wake up. Now I've got an Oura ring. This thing's great. So what this does actually tells me how much I'm tossing and turning at night, how much real sleep I'm getting. It also shows you the deep sleep, the REM sleep and things like that. I don't think that's very accurate, but what is accurate is showing you when you're asleep and when you're awake. And through experimenting with this, I've optimized it where when you sleep, and this is normal, you're awake 10 to 15% of the night. You toss and turn, you wake up. You might not remember being awake, but you are awake. So if you add all that up, that's between 10 and 15%. If it's more than that, you've got some kind of problem you need to resolve. So it's 10 to 50%, which is normal. So I figured out that if I'm in bed 8.5 hours, 8.5 is my magic number. That means with the 15% in there, I'm asleep 7.5. So I have 7.5 hours of real sleep, and that's optimal for me. I feel the best. I look the best. I don't get sleepy. I don't get touchy and angry. A lot of people have a lot of temper problems, and they're touchy and pissed off because they're not getting enough sleep. I don't drink coffee. I've never drank coffee in my entire life. I've never done drugs in my entire life. I mean, we could talk about that later if you want. Never been drunk in my entire life, so that helps. But I don't need coffee in the morning because I've had plenty of sleep. So yes, I make it a priority 7 nights a week. On rare, I mean, are there some nights where I'm out and I stay up late? Yes, but that's a rare event. That's not typical. So yeah, and every morning I'm checking my sleep reports from this thing on my phone of how much sleep I got to make sure it's optimized. Because I have to be on every day, at least 6 days a week. I take Sundays off. I got to be 100% every day. And I'm not going to be 100% if I don't get that sleep. So yeah, it's a priority for me. It has been for about 20 years. And absolutely, if I was not getting those 8 hours, I would not look like this. I would look older. No question about it. And I would also make less money, and I'd be less happy. And I'd have less sex. And my sexual performance would be less. All these things. All that stuff if I wasn't getting that sleep.
I think we can end the interview here. I think that was all. All we need was that. So people,
yeah.
When I was younger, I'm like you in that respect, that I take care of my sleep as much as possible, and that's why I want to talk about sleep in this channel as much as possible. Because even though we are in the 2020s and going forward, I've talked with professional athletes. I've talked with older men, younger men. Yeah, younger men are stupid. You always like. They don't sleep. They don't care. They think nothing happens to them. Nothing. The performance will be great no matter what. If they get sleep or are insomniac, which is false, of course. But I had the luck. I had bad genetics, like you said. I had bad genetics, and when you have bad genetics, for example, when I was 19, when I wasn't getting sleep, even 2 hours, I wasn't able to handle it like the most of the youngsters. So I got very aware of sleep problems very early in life compared to the other guys and most of people. And that's why I always took care of my sleep. And I lost people over that. I mean, I lost party opportunities and stuff.
Oh, but yeah. I've had the same problem. I've had numerous complaints from people, women in my life, friends. Oh, yeah. Sometimes coworkers. Oh, come on, stay up late. What the hell? No, I got to do this. Sorry. If you want to wave a magic wand and give me maximum energy and maximum health without me sleeping these hours, then go ahead and do it. If you can't do that, you got to leave me alone and let me sleep. Yeah, I've had a lot of complaints. Yeah. I mean, when I first got married to my second wife, the wife I have now, she's a typical American, about 6 hours of sleep. And she doesn't need 8 hours. She can do fine in 7. Some people can do fine in 7, by the way. Some weirdos need 9. I found it's between 7 and 9. I'm 8. Some people need 7. But it was very difficult for her to understand. I have to be in bed, lights out at whatever time it was back then, 11:15, so I could wake up at a certain time. And it was just like, why can't you just stay up and relax? And no, I've got to sleep. I have to be 100% tomorrow. Right. So I experienced the same thing. People don't understand how important it is. Westerners in particular, they don't understand, and they don't want to. People don't want to go to bed. It's a thing. I think a lot of it is psychological holdover when we were kids. When you were a little kid, you didn't want to go to bed. Your mom said, time for bed. You're like, no, I want to stay up late. I think a lot of that carries over into adulthood, and you don't want to go to bed because you're having fun on Instagram or playing a video game or whatever the hell you're doing. You don't want to go to bed. And so you stay up and stay up and stay up, but you got to get up early the next morning for work. You can't adjust that time. Yeah. Yeah. Sleep is critical, and people don't understand how critical it is. Correct.
True. So one other question about sleep. Do you nap? Do you take naps?
I don't. But I know people who do. I've tried it. I don't like it. I think it varies per person. I don't like how I feel after taking a nap. I feel strange. But I have worked with people. I worked with a woman in my consulting practice for years. Very effective person, and she was very healthy and very happy. Every lunch at noon, she would close the door of her office and have a nap for 45 minutes. She would just sleep on the couch, and she'd do that every day. And she loved it. And she was renewed for the rest of the day. And no, I don't nap. I've looked into nap. I've also looked into polyphasic sleep, if you know what that is. I've looked into that. It's just not for me, no. That's not my opinion. I just think that's my body. I think everyone's body's different. Some people like napping. Some people don't. I don't.
Yeah, about napping, it's very interesting because, for example, I nap when I feel like it. And when I nap for 20 minutes. It's when I feel the tiredness, coming up. I'm not debating it nowadays.
Does the 10 minutes charge you for the rest of the day? Does that work for you? The 10 minutes?
I don't do 10. Usually I do 20.
Oh,
So I
20.
put
Okay.
the alarm. Yeah, usually I work with Pomodori. So Pomodori 25
Oh, okay.
minutes, and I
Okay.
do one Pomodori. So I put the alarm one Pomodori. I put some music from Brain FM, which is great. Put some music. I
Okay.
put my my sleep mask and stuff, and I
Good.
just I don't care if I get into deep sleep or whatever, because you cannot really get into deep sleep with the
No,
20 minutes.
no, not 20.
But what I find, Caleb, is that I really, when I wake up after an hour, after 45 minutes to an hour, I really get like a boost of awareness, of mental, capacity. So it's not exactly that you get energy, but it's like it clears up.
More clear.
Yes.
So
Yes.
to that point, I don't nap, but what I do is I meditate. So I meditate most days. And lately, in the last few months, last maybe 8 or 9 months, I also do hypnosis in the evening before I go to bed. So I do those things. Those help. Maybe that's why I don't need to nap. But I meditate part of my morning routine is I meditate for 20 minutes. I do transcendental meditation, which is hard. I do that for 20 minutes because I want my monkey mind to be shut, to be calm for the day so I can focus. And then for weight loss, I do a weight loss hypnosis thing for about, let's see, it lasts about a half an hour. Is it half an hour? Yeah, it's 30 minutes right before bed. So I do those things as part of my morning routine and night routine. I have a very strict morning routine and a very strict night routine. So I do those. Maybe that's why I don't need a nap. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, about the meditation stuff, I've heard the same. Basically, I've heard from yogis and guys from India. I think also Sadhguru said something similar, that you don't need to really sleep that much if you take a deep rest. So meditate, which is not
Maybe.
exactly rest, but you meditate, you
I
relax.
still do. I still need my 8.5 for some reason. I mean, I'm fine at 8. I can wiggle it a little bit. I just have the kind of metabolism that likes to sleep, I think. I think, again, that's genetics. A lot of this is genetic, how much sleep you need and that kind of thing. So I still need that sleep. And I don't do it for sleep purposes. I do it for mental focus. I want to be 100% on. That's why I exercise in the morning. I exercise in the morning to get the oxygen in my brain, to prime my body. I meditate in the morning to prime my brain. So my body is primed, my brain is primed. I got plenty of sleep. Now I can go for the next 12 hours and be very productive. All right.
So you said exercise. So let's get down to it. So you exercise first thing in the morning. Describe me a little bit your regimen in a sense.
I have a reasonably complex morning routine, but part of that is, yes, I exercise every morning, 6 days a week. Again, I usually take Sundays off from work and exercise. I just rest for the day. That's something I started implementing about a year ago. And so far that works. So yes, I exercise. I focus on cardio. I do resistance training. So my regimen right now, and this changes. So if you ask me again in 6 months, it'll probably change. I change all the time. But I need to exercise in the morning. My number one priority for me is cardio because I want that oxygen and I want the anti-aging effects. Cardio solves all kinds of health problems. And there's a lot of guys who are really into weightlifting who hate cardio. You don't want to be a cardio monkey. Cardio is boring. For health, you got to do it. Maybe if you're young, fine. But if you're an old man like me, you need to do cardio all the time. So I do 20 minutes of reasonably hard cardio. That I will vary that. Right now I'm doing, what am I doing? I'm doing this thing, elliptical. Doing the elliptical machine. Sometimes I'll do a bike. I don't run. I used to run in my 20s. I don't think running is a good idea if you're I'm a big guy. I don't think running is a good idea for big men. I think if you're a little 100-pound Filipino man, go ahead and run. But if you're a big guy, I know too many guys, nothing against running, but I know too many men and some women. They've run their whole lives, and by the time they hit their 60s, they have knee problems. All kinds of problems with their knees. I don't want to screw up my knees, so I don't run. But I do everything else. So 20 minutes, and then that's every morning. And then every 4 days, I do a full body convict conditioning routine, which is what I'm doing now. So it's resistance training. I prefer to lift weights. I'm a weightlifting guy. I like to lift weights. But because of COVID and all my travel, even to this day, often hotels won't have gyms, or the gyms will be closed, or you got to wear a mask, or it's open, but you got to sign into a waiting list. And I went, okay, screw it. A few months ago, I said, okay, forget about weights until COVID's over. I'm going to have to do resistant body weight training, body weight exercises. So I do my whole body. It takes about oh, I don't know, it takes about 45 minutes to do my whole body, run around, do that. I just do that around my apartment. There's only one exercise I can't do in my apartment, so I do that in the gym downstairs. And when I travel, I just skip that one. It's the one where you pull up. It's a I don't know what these things are called, but it's where you lay down and you're pulling yourself up. It's instead of pull-ups, it's pull-ups this way. Anyway, so I do that every 4 days. And what's that?
Is it the TRX ropes?
No, it's not the ropes. I should get the book. I have it. Convict Conditioning, great book. I've had a lot of guys recommend that to me. And finally, I went through it. I'm like, this is great stuff because you don't need any weights. You don't even need the resistance bands, which I've used when I travel. I've done those too. Those are good. Those are good too. And I might go back to those at some point. Like I said, it changes all the time. I really miss lifting weights. And my current plan right now is to get the body fat down. When the body fat gets down, I want to get back into heavy lifting weights, which is what I really like. I don't want to get heavy lifting weights right now. I'm endomorphic, so I don't want to look like a giant football player. I want to get the body fat down first, then really hit the weights hard. But I still need to do resistance training again for health. I don't do that to get buff, to get ripped yet. I do that for testosterone reasons and long-term health reasons, anti-aging, all those things. I also have a very large stretching routine, and I do that every day, including Sundays. So I stretch my whole body. That takes at least 15 minutes or longer. And it's mobility stretching. So it's the kind of stretching that hurts, where you push against the stretch. Instead of just stretching like do, you're pushing against it. And it hurts. I do that with my whole body, particularly to my joints, elbows, shoulders, wrists. I do all that. I do that every day. Because again, that's old man stuff. These guys who bend over when they're like, 62, they bend over to pick up a pen and they go, oh, my back. You're not lifting weights, bro, and you're not stretching. That's never going to happen to me, ever.
Exactly. So let me intervene about stretching. When you are younger, younger guys in their 20s, now I'm 30, right? All right. So I'm still, there. But when I was 20, I was so stupid. So I wasn't stretching at all. I wasn't doing anything. And I was so arrogant. It was so fucked up.
You can make the argument you don't need to stretch badly in your 20s. You could make that argument. You should, but you don't really have to. You should, but it hits you when you're 35. 35 is when all of a sudden you turn your neck and go, oh, what the hell? Why can't I turn my neck as much? Or 40?
Yes.
But if you want to prevent that, then you'd stretch in your 20s.
Yeah, and depends on the genetics again. So I have people like my older brother. So he's, he's blessed. So there are people that are not moving and they are having six-pack. He has a six-pack and he doesn't exercise. Fuck.
Genetics. Some people are blessed.
Genetics.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't get those. I did not get those genetics.
Me neither. So I'm trying very hard to look how I look. Very, very hard. So I've dropped any expectation to look like a ripped athlete, a ripped motherfucker. But regarding stretching, I really like what you said, because many people in their 30s, they have to do that. Not they have to, you have to incorporate it as part of the exercise. So many people think that it's still in their 30s and the 40s. They think that's just something, if you want it, you do it. If you have time, you do it. So, and I don't do it. And I let you talk about this because I'm very happy right now, because what I do is like I'm doing 30 minutes stretching, 30 minutes exercise. So it's 1 hour, half and half, so that I don't get my mind, into.
That is valid and correct. When I do coaching programs with an Alpha 2.0, I mandate guys. I really should say 35, but I say 40. If you're 40 or over, you must do stretching at least 5-6 days a week. You must. I don't care if you don't want to do it. You have to do this, or you're going to be that old man, and you won't even be that old. You have guys in their early 50s, guys my age. You have dudes my age who they bend over to pick up their phone or their pencil, go, oh, my back, or they have sex and they throw out they get a Charlie horse. It's so embarrassing and stupid. It's mandatory. You have to stretch. Again, if you're 24 years old, you should, but you don't have to. But 35 that line starts at 35 and it really intensifies at 40. You cross a line at 35. Also mentally, I've done videos about this for men. Men cross a line physically at 35. That's when the line gets crossed into aging, real aging. Technically aging begins when you're about 25, 26. That's when your body starts theoretically dying. Right. But you really see it and feel it in your body at 35. And 40, you really feel it, especially if you're not stretching or doing any of that stuff. It's mandatory. It's not an option to me. The only exception would be those guys who say, there's a small movement of guys on the internet who say they're going to kill themselves. I'm going to live life to the fullest and do drugs and smoke weed and never exercise. And when I hit 60, I'm going to kill myself. Okay, fine. I hope you don't have children, but okay, fine. Other than that tiny, narrow segment, it's mandatory. You have to stretch every morning, most days a week, post 35. Put on an audiobook, put on a YouTube video, make it entertaining for yourself, and just do it. Be a man and suck it up and do it. And if it takes an extra half an hour, it takes an extra half an hour. That's the way it goes, man. It's mandatory for me. I can't imagine not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the benefits are so many. It's like every habit, when you start out, so it always sucks. And like you said, a great thing to do is to put an audiobook, to put a podcast, to put a video on the computer, and do it. At least give yourself some pleasure alongside the suck, and embrace
That's
it.
what I've had to do. I always listen to something I want to listen to, even if it's not business, because I listen to a lot of business content. Even if it's not business, if it's like a fantasy audiobook or something, to make it fun. Because there are days, I have the habit now, but there are days I want to do it. There are days I don't want to do it. I still do it. Did it this morning. I was listening to an audiobook, had a great time. Took me about, 20 minutes. Yeah. Even the days I don't exercise, I will still stretch. The days I don't have time for exercise, I can wiggle a little bit on the exercise, a little. I can't wiggle on stretching. I'm too old, and I'm not going to be one of these old men. My lifestyle demands that I have to, again, be 100% on 12 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week.
Alpha 2.0. So
right.
That's a guy. So, right. So, before we go to stretching to mobility, because I want to ask you a few things that I don't know if you use them, a few tools. So you said you are doing body weight usually, right? And you don't do bands. So first of all, why you don't do bands?
I don't do what?
Resistance bands.
The primary reason I don't is my travel schedule. So I travel a lot, especially this year because of COVID. I had to delay a lot of my travel and front load into this year. I travel a lot, and I try to travel as light as I can. And the least amount of things I can travel with, the better. If I didn't travel, I would use resistance bands. Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of them. I have 2 sets of them in 2 different locations. I've used them for years, but I just got tired of throwing that in my bag. I'm a travel guy right now. Now, in about 2 or 3 years, I will not travel nearly as much. I will travel, but it'll be much more regimented, and I'll have everything I want, all the locations. And at that point, I'll probably go back to the bands for the supplemental stuff. I still want to do weights. I have an entire weight rack, squat rack. I have all that stuff. I have an entire gym. I have all that stuff in my house, my primary house. I have all that stuff, but it's not here. It's not in Dubai. It's still in the United States. I have to move that over. It's a long story. I'll buy a new set in Dubai. But that's the answer, it's just my travel schedule. If I didn't travel as much, I'd use them. They're great.
All right. Another question before we go into the mobility. Do you use kettlebells?
No, I like them. I've used them when I'm at gyms for like hotels that have them. They're great. There's one exercise I did for years, or about a year. I don't know the name of it.
The swing, the kettlebell swing?
Kettlebell swing where you bend over and then you're up.
Yes.
And then down for your back, your lower back. So you do a bunch of deadlifts, and you do a bunch of those. Awesome. Your lower back is so fucked up, and it's great.
And glutes.
You feel that your lower back is
and lower back.
You do like
and
15 of them, like 2 sets, 3 sets is great. Yeah. Those are, so other than that, no. I've used them for that. And if I don't have them, so I'll just take a plate, use a plate for it, but a kettlebell would be better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I do a lot of kettlebells. So I put a lot of mass.
I love kettlebells.
Last year with kettlebells, and I didn't know that you can put mass actually with kettlebells. I was so ignorant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you can. You actually can, and you can be very strong with kettlebells. So I ask you this because many people don't think of kettlebells as a really functional movement, and they're really putting
kettlebells are better for movement. It's the compound exercises that I like to do. The deadlifts, the squats, the bench press, military press. That's the stuff that restricts movement. Kettlebell is better for movement. So no, I think kettlebells are great. Again, especially as you get older and you want more mobility. Yeah. So if anything, when I go back to lifting hardcore weights, I'm probably going to do more kettlebells than I've ever done before because I want that mobility as I get older. Again, if I was 23, I wouldn't care. I would just do deadlifts, squats, blah, 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 blah. But no, I'm in my 50s now. I need to do kettlebells. Yeah. No, I'm a big fan.
Let me tell you, I've tried everything in exercise, swimming, running, weights, free weights, machine weights, and now I'm trying resistance bands, body weight, and now I'm trying kettlebells, and it was a game changer for me. And I'm
Oh,
saying this
cool.
because I had, it really was the game changer. Like, what the fuck? Because it is cardio and resistance together,
Yes, kind
which
of.
is
Yes,
awesome.
true,
It's kind of, yeah, not exactly, of course, yeah, but it's
true.
kind of, especially if you add the swings and then you do some presses and you clean and jerk, which is you can
Hmm.
learn that. It's not that difficult because you
Agree.
have unilateral movements. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
agree
saying this.
100%.
Yeah, and especially if you have back problems. So I had younger issues, and I have lordosis, not lordosis. I have the other thing, the kyphosis, whatever. So my back is a little.
Scoliosis?
Yeah, I think scoliosis, something like that. I have a little scoliosis, and my brother too. And I started doing these stuff. So I didn't do bilateral movements. I did unilateral movements, one hand, and it really not fixed, but it really, handle. I really can handle everything right now. So even with bilateral bar, which I couldn't. So
Cool.
if you have issues, tightness in one side of your neck, one side of your hip, I mean, kettlebell is the solution, at least for the beginning. So that's,
Agree.
yeah. So regarding stretching and stuff, do you do foam rolling? Do you do lacrosse balls? Do you do anything of that stuff?
Again, I have to be mobile, so I don't use anything. I use the wall. And so all of my mobility stuff only requires a wall. Now, sometimes I require space on the wall. So in this hotel room, I'm in a nice hotel, but the rooms are pretty small. But I have just enough room. So one of the things I do shoulder rotations. So you stand against the wall's right here. Put my hand on my chest. Sorry, I touched my microphone. And my arm goes up all the way around, all the way back without moving it, without twisting my hand. So you need room. But other than that, no. So I don't do any of that stuff. And I probably won't unless I do some serious, crazy mobility stuff when I'm working with a trainer or something. Once I get my lifestyle more settled, maybe. But right now, no, I got to be mobile. So I do everything where I don't have to pack anything. I pack, I want to be able to not pack anything and assume that the gym is unavailable. So what can I do in my hotel room or outside, worst case scenario, at the park? So that's why I do all my mobility without any objects, and then all my convict conditioning stuff and my cardio. Worst case for cardio, I can go walk around the block really fast for 20 minutes. That's worst case scenario. I've had to do that a few times. I walk really fast for 20 minutes time.
All right. So your priorities basically being, able to move and to not carry a lot of weight. So yeah, I
Right.
understand that because
Right.
I
Not
have
saying
my.
those things. They're awesome. They're really cool. I've seen a lot of stuff with that. I have buddies who do that stuff. I got to be mobile.
Before we go to the testosterone, one last thing to ask you about the tool. So do you know Theragun?
Theta gun?
Theragun.
No, what's that?
So that's a very interesting tool, as at least for your Dubai and your other, homes. It's basically a thing. It's like a gun, not a gun, but it's like a massage tool that has. Let me show you.
Okay. What the hell is that? I'm almost scared to ask.
So it's basically good for two purposes. The first purpose is to massage your body. So listen to this. I'm trying, you know.
Is it a spot massager? Is that essentially what it is? So it like massages a spot?
Yes,
Okay.
right on.
Okay.
And it
Okay,
has
okay.
2 speeds, so you cannot use it as a vibrator for a woman, but some people may dare to do that. It's a little bit
Oh,
too
of
strong
course.
for that.
Women will find they'll use anything. My favorite is when women talk about using electric toothbrushes. I'm like, all right, women will find anything.
All right, that's weird, but women.
Yeah, I can tell you stories. Yep.
Yeah, at some point
Yeah,
I
no,
would
I've
love
never
to do
used
that.
that. But I know what you're talking about, spot massaging. That's actually the massage I like the best when I get massages. I
Yeah.
tell the lady, hurt me, get in there and hurt me.
Yeah.
And I'll go, ah, she'll, oh, I'm sorry. No, keep going. Hurt me, get in there and work that shit out. Yeah, I like to be drilled. Not that way, but the massage way. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. A real massage from a great therapist is always the best thing. But this is the next best thing I've seen. I mean, it's great. So let's get to the testosterone, right? Because you said about, we talked about sleep, we talked about your training, your mobility drills, your stretching. So what do you think about testosterone? Why did you get into testosterone therapy, and what's your future with testosterone?
So the number one problem that men have as they age, outside of the usual health problems, is that you lose 1% of your testosterone starting around age 30, I think is the number, 30, 31, something like that. You start losing 1% a year. That compounds pretty fast. And by the time you're in your 40s, you don't feel it because it's a gradual change. You'll just wake up when you're 42 and realize, I don't work as hard. I don't sleep as well. My dick doesn't get as hard. I'm not as motivated. I'm a little touchy. I'm gaining weight when I shouldn't be gaining weight. I'm eating more calories. I'm gaining weight. All kinds of problems. And when you go to the typical Western doctor and you get a testosterone test and it's low, I'll use American numbers here, but if your total testosterone maybe is like 320 and you're 45, your stupid Western doctor says, yes, that's right. Your testosterone will drop as you, that's natural. You're just an old man now and just go back and watch TV. I knew that wasn't an option for me. I'm going to have to be 100%. And long-term consistent happiness is my number one goal in life. I talk about this in all my books and all my content. Long-term consistent happiness for the rest of my life is my number one goal above every other goal. And so if my testosterone is low, I'm going to be less happy. That's literally linked. It's a one-to-one thing there with guys. And so, yeah, I went on TRT maybe 8 years now, so early 40s. First thing I did before TRT was vitamin D. So if you're low on vitamin D, and most human beings are, that's like a miniature TRT. So I started taking vitamin D like 8,000 a day. Today I take 10,000 a day. And that was like a miniature TRT. I tracked my time and I noticed I was really effective, or much more effective, over the last like 6 weeks or so. This is years ago before I started TRT. And I went, well, what happened 6 weeks ago? Am I getting more sleep? No. Am I having more sex? No. Am I eating better? No, my diet's the same. Oh, that's why I started doing vitamin D. So I went, okay, vitamin D can make that difference. What can testosterone do? And so I started TRT, yeah, about 8 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. I forget. And my testosterone wasn't even that low. It was lowish. It was okay for a guy my age. It was actually pretty good. But I wanted my testosterone to be in the optimal range. One of my objectives is to have my testosterone be the equivalent of an 18-year-old man for as long as I can in life, as long as that's healthy. Maybe when I'm 95, I shouldn't be doing that anymore, and a doctor can tell me, hey, you can't do that. But as long as I possibly can, probably into my early 70s at least, I want to have the testosterone level of an 18-year-old man. That's what TRT stands for, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. You're replacing the testosterone you lost when you were younger. You're not adding more testosterone than you ever had. That's steroid use, which I think is insane and stupid. So I don't do that. So the ideal range is 700 to 1200. And I want to stay in that range for the rest of my life. Right now, I'm just under 1,200. I'm at 1130, something like that, total testosterone, which is equivalent to an 18-year-old kid. And that's perfect. That's where I want to stay. And there's a bunch of other numbers I check: estradiol, vitamin D, T3. I check a lot of numbers. But testosterone's one of the big ones, yeah.
So when you got it, what was your first impression? So did you have any side effects the first few months?
Yeah, I had a side effect, and it's a common one, is most men, not all men, but most men, when you start replacing the testosterone, your estrogen also goes up. And so you don't know if it's going to happen until it happens. So I went on TRT. It's kind of funny. Went on TRT, and I felt way better. It was great. But then I noticed in the mirror when I was shaved in the morning, my face looked rounder. And I had like this, not fat, just round. It looked round. I'm like, well, that's weird. And then I was having sex with someone, was about to have sex with somebody, and I was about to take off my shirt, and I had this thought that I've never had in my life. I've never had this thought. I was about to take off my shirt, and I had this thought, like a little girl in the back of my head, and the little girl said, I feel fat. I went, I feel fat. I thought it, and I went, what the fuck is going on with me? So I called my doctor. I said, what the hell's going on? He said, oh, your estrogen is probably spiked. Let's do a blood test. Sure enough, my estradiol was like 42 or something. It was way too high. He's like, okay, this is very normal. So I take an anastrozole, which I'm trying to find a replacement for, but that's another story. I take half. The pills are very tiny. They're that big. I take half of one a week. So I take very little. And it brings my estradiol down to the ideal range It's between, again, using American measurements, it's 20 to 30, closer to 20. So mine's right at 20, 19, 20, 21. So I had that side effect, but that went away instantly as soon as I took the anastrozole. And that's it. From then on, it's been perfect. It was the only problem I had. And that was just maybe 2 weeks, and it fixed immediately. So that was it. No, benefits across the board. My income went up 80%. My average daily income went up by 80%. My sleep improved. My sex improved. It wasn't great. It didn't improve a lot because it was pretty good to begin with. I'm just genetically lucky on that one. What else? More focused at work, more energy at work, more motivation at work. And I was a pretty motivated guy, but more of everything good. Happier, everything. So now I tell guys, if you're 40 or over, TRT is a mandatory requirement unless you're one of these, you're genetically blessed and you have natural high numbers, which is rare, or some guys have lower numbers, but they feel great at lower numbers. Again, it's all genetics because everyone's body's different. So unless you're in that rare category, you need to be on TRT post 40. Otherwise, I know it's going to happen. I know guys in their 40s. They're not like me. They're not. They're quiet, not quiet. They're just not motivated. They got the big beer belly, which is usually estrogen. They're not excited. They're not motivated. They're not excited by anything. They're touchy. They have shitty sleep. I mean, it's just down the line. TRT solves so many problems. And I do a lot of other things in addition. I do ipamorelin. I have HCG. A lot of protocol. I have a detailed protocol for that stuff. But yeah, testosterone's great. Highly recommend for men over 40 and younger men who need it. There's a growing population of younger men who need it. Guys in their 20s. We have guys who are low T in their 20s.
Let me tell you about that. Let me tell you about that, my personal experience. So I had when I will test my teeth this year again, but when I tested my teeth 4 years ago or 5, I don't remember, I had a whooping 300.
Total?
So
is that your total testosterone or free testosterone? Is that your total?
I think it was a total testosterone.
Oh, geez.
Geez, again. And
how old were you at the time? So you're like 25?
26, max.
Oh,
25.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me. It was my older brother also got tested. He was at that time 28, and the same to 295, and he seems more jacked than me. So it was perplexing. So and of course, like you said before, the doctors, oh, you are all right. So you are on the lower side of the.
Yeah, because you know what they do? Here's what the doctors do. They look at a piece of paper with a range, and the range literally says 300 to 1200, which is meaningless. So if you're at 301, oh, you're fine. Even the stupid doctors should be very concerned if you're in your 20s and your testosterone is 300. Even a stupid doctor should go, okay, something's not right here. This is not right. Especially if you're experiencing symptoms. Especially if you're having trouble with your sleep or sexually or motivation or weight or,
So it's basically, Caleb, it was sexual performance. I had a sex bomb at that time. So it was my first sex bomb. And I was like, and I wasn't performing. And it was like, I was perplexed because that was, the most sexual girl I had in years, probably my first time. I was like, what the fuck? It doesn't make any sense. Right. And I told that to my doctor, but my doctor was like, it's in your mind. It's in your mind. So.
That's right. That's what happens. I know, it's terrible. You've got to ignore your doctors on this. They're terrible. Exactly. Unless they are focused on anti-aging, endocrinologists, hormone specialists. Those guys are good. But the general practitioner and doctors are awful about this. And it's not the only thing they're awful about, but I could go on, but it's bad.
Yeah, I personally will do it. I'm going to do it probably next year, and
you should
start. Yeah. Now, man,
and I tell guys, it'll pay for itself. If you guys say, well, it costs a lot of money. Yeah, it's a few $100 a month. My income went up 82%. My average monthly income, as soon as I went on TRT, went up 82%. So it more than paid for itself. And today I spend hundreds of dollars a month on that protocol. It is a profit center for me. I don't care. I would double it. I'm looking into doing human growth hormone. Right now I'm doing human growth hormone peptides, which is less expensive. But at some point soon, we'll get into human growth hormone, and I expect a boost from that too. I'm getting to that age where that makes sense now. Yeah, there's no reason not to do it if you're experiencing those symptoms. If you're experiencing those symptoms and your numbers are low, below 700, you need to get on. If not getting on TRT, so some guys say, well, I don't want to do needles and I don't want to do this and that. Fine. There are some protocols you can engage in that will naturally boost your testosterone. They take time and effort, so hopefully you have time in your schedule, because I don't. And you could try those first if you're a younger guy. But if those don't work and get you at least to 700, you have to do TRT. And you'll thank yourself. It's literally one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life, going on TRT. One of the best decisions I've ever made. If anything, I would have done it sooner, frankly. A little sooner, not a lot sooner, but a little sooner. Yeah. Can't recommend it enough for men who need it. Not everybody needs it. Men who need it.
Yeah. If you have symptoms, lack of morning wood, lack of willpower, you are low energy and stuff.
That alone, you said it. So when the doctor first told me that, I really had to think about this. He had a really good point. You need to wake up with morning wood every morning. And if you don't, you have low testosterone. And I thought way back when he first told me that, I said, God, yeah, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. He goes, no. If you have a healthy level of testosterone, it should be every morning, because your bladder is full and it's just a react. And if you don't, if your bladder is full in the morning, you wake up and you don't have morning wood, you've got a testosterone or a hormonal issue. And he said, yeah, think back to when you're 18, 20, even 22, 23. You had morning wood every fucking morning, didn't you? Yeah, I did. And today I do, because I'm on TRT. Right. That's one of the telltale signs.
Exactly. So, people, you heard the man. Go subscribe to Caleb's channel. So, where can people find you? What can they learn from you also?
So I have a lot of websites. The primary one you could get started at is calebjones.com. And I have 3 companies. This one company is called Alpha Male 2.0. It is the maximum level of freedom you can achieve as a man financially in your business. So I teach location independent income, so you can go wherever you want, live wherever you want. The money keeps coming in. And non-monogamous relationships. You're not locked into one woman or one relationship. You can have one relationship, but you got one on the side. And everyone knows this. You're not cheating. You don't have any drama. You don't fight. It's a much better way to live. So calebjones.com is probably the easiest place to find all my stuff.
Great. All right. So thanks for coming on, Caleb. It was an enlightening conversation, and I really, personally, admired your persistence with your mobility drills. It's something I'm trying to tell people, and I like that people like you, you're a successful businessman, a great guy. So you look young, you feel young, and you do it. So people, listen up. Success leaves clues, like they say.
You'll thank yourself as you get older, the younger you look and the younger you feel. It's not something you think about in your 20s or 30s, but that's when you need to start thinking about it. And certainly if you're in your 40s or 50s, you need to start addressing it right now, because it just gets worse if you don't take care of it now. You'll thank yourself later.
All right. So thanks again. Give me a minute. I'll stop the recording. And people, like and subscribe to this beautiful interview. Go to Caleb's channel, subscribe there, learn a lot of things, how to be independent. And goodbye from me. See you again, Caleb, soon.
Bye. Had fun.